Welcome back to the Ben Mulroney Show. And here is a universal truth as I see it. No matter who you are, what you look like, where you come from, what your background is, who you surround yourself with, the world is a hard place. And it's going to, however hard you push at it, it's going to push back harder. And because of that, addiction is something that can befall anyone. And the reasons for falling into that hole are myriad and unique to each individual. And I'm joined now by someone who has his own unique story of falling into the darkness of addiction. And he's got a new book that we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about his story and really gain his insights onto how far he fell, why he fell, and how he found his way back into the light. Please welcome to the show the co-founder of Sleep Country Canada, Gordon Lownds. Welcome to the show, Gordon.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Before we jump into anything, I'd like to ask you, how are you today?
I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm in a very good space. I'm living with my daughter out in Vancouver Island, and I'm fully retired, so I don't have the stress of any business issues facing me, and I'm just living it one day at a time.
Well, I can see your home looks beautiful, and I hope that the peace that I see on screen is reflected in the peace that you feel inside.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so let's talk about this story, because it's always fascinating for people on the outside looking in that somebody who can accomplish what you accomplished did so while being held down, was being pulled down by the forces of addiction. Talk to me about where you were in 1996.
Yes, so we were about a year and a half into the start of Sleep Country Canada out in Vancouver. Things were going extremely well. I was just recently divorced. My family, my wife and my ex had moved back to Toronto, so I was on my own out here. And I was doing what a lot of entrepreneurs do, is working insane hours and totally sort of mentally committed 100% of my time to basically just driving the business.
And it got very successful very quickly. So how old were you back in 1996?
I was 48.
At 48. So you launched the company, and it was about that time that drugs entered your orbit. Is that correct?
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, so tell me the story of that, because like I said, every person who suffers from addiction, it's something different. For some people, they're introduced to alcohol as a child, right? And they're forever tethered to it. For others, it's one bad decision. Others, it's to fill a void. For others, it's to feel accepted. In your case, what happened?
Yeah, so in 1995, I got involved with a young lady who would be described as the ultimate femme fatale. Okay. She was living in Seattle, and I was down in Seattle every couple of weeks on business to work with the advertising agency. And so we had this ongoing relationship, and she ended up moving in with me in early 1996. And about 3 or 4 months into that, I discovered that she had a drug problem. And it sort of the light went on in terms of a lot of her behavior in the past had been a little bit bizarre and hard to understand, and then it all became clear to me. So I got her into a treatment program, didn't work. We got into another 2 or 3 treatment programs, didn't work. And finally I told her, I said, I'm busy, I'm committed to this business, I'm a high profile business guy, and I can't be living with a drug addict.
Yeah.
So she basically said, look, I'll leave, but would you just try it once with me so that you can empathize with the kind of problem that I'm trying to deal with? And I basically said,
Gordon,
sure.
Yeah, you said sure. Okay, we got to stop there for a moment. Did you recognize in that moment that you were at a fork in the road?
No.
What did you think?
Because I thought it was no big deal, because I've been around drugs when I was in the music business in the early 1970s. Never touched it. I always considered myself to be really strong-willed, and I could deal with anything. And I'm a survivor, and I've dealt with a lot of, adversity, throughout my life. And I figured it was not a big deal. And my impression of cocaine was, what you see in the movies where, some people, they get drunk and they do some coke to, to keep using and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what happened was, so my introduction to cocaine was basically smoking crack with her.
And
the instant that happened, my brain just exploded.
Yeah.
And what I now understand is that people's body chemistry is different, and people react differently to different drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And my body chemistry reacted extremely positively to the stimulus of the cocaine.
Yeah.
And it was, literally sort of the best feeling I'd ever had. So all the stress of the world and the stress of the girlfriend, it all went away. And I said this was great, and basically spent the weekend smoking crack and having, outrageous, sex, because all of your inhibitions go through the roof. And I after the weekend, my thought was, well, that's great. I can party like this on weekends, and that'll be a lot of fun.
So it was
I didn't throw her out.
Yeah. So you didn't throw her. So you thought, okay, I'm going to try this to understand her, and within just a few days, you were like, okay, I can have this as part of my life, and I can control it.
Yeah. And as I said, I've never had anything in my life that's been able to take control of me.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, I knew I had a problem. I was, Googling, cocaine addiction and all that other good stuff. I went to see a therapist who was freshly out of school and asked him if I had a problem. She was a psychologist, and she asked me how much I was using. And as every drug user will tell you, we always lie about how much we use. Yeah. So I told her how much I thought I was using, and she said, well, you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
So I kept going.
But I got to ask, I need to go back to that switch that went off, because, you tried so hard. You saw the negative impact that this drug had on your girlfriend. You saw how hard, despite your best efforts and her best faith attempts to get off of it, that she couldn't. You saw how corrosive and toxic and destructive it was. And then you tried it once and thought to yourself, that's not going to happen to me.
Yep.
So the drug put blinders on you. It gave you a massive blind spot immediately.
Yeah. And as I said, and I was living sort of a hedonistic dream with this girl.
Yeah.
And the cocaine was just the fuel to that dream.
Sure.
And as I said, I never thought that I would get stuck or trapped into a situation that I couldn't control.
And all the while you're building a business. And, I want to make sure that we end this segment on the right note. You were aware that you were addicted within 6 months, and the addiction lasted 1,000 days, less than 3 years. So that's a really fast roller coaster. That's a whiplash inducing ride. And I'm trying to figure out whether you can attribute it to burning fast and bright, or being self-aware enough to recognize that you had to get off the ride quickly. How do you see those 1,000 days if you had to wrap it up in about 30 seconds?
So I went from smoking crack to injecting cocaine within about a year. And basically, people have asked me, how far did I fall? And the answer is I fall all the way down. And so I ended up, trolling through the back alleys of the downtown east side of Vancouver, which is a notorious, drug haven, looking for my next fix. And
let's end on that hanging Chad, if you will, sir. And when we come back, we've got much more of this fascinating conversation with Gordon Lownds. Don't go anywhere. This is the Ben Mulroney Show. Thanks so much for watching the show. Now, if you enjoyed what you saw, hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode of the Ben Mulroney Show.